The indigenous people of Guatemala make up 60% of the population. Guatemala is one of two countries where the indigenous are in fact the majority. While they do make up the greater part of the population, I wanted to explore the extent to which their rich cultures and traditions have survived along with them. Historically, the Mayan population endured oppression and abuse. During the colonial period, the focus of the Spanish conquest was the forced labor of the Indian population. Independence from Spain in between 1811 and 1821 is widely seen as having only benefited the local ruling class who no longer had to pay taxes to the crown. Meanwhile, the indigenous population continued to be exploited by the landowning class of Spanish origin. Today, Guatemala is experiencing a different kind of imperialism, this time culturally and from the Western world. For that reason, I will address cultural imperialism's impact on indigenous survival. From the moment we set foot in Guatemala City, evidence of westernization was everywhere. Is this good? Is this bad? Where would they be today without Western influence? And just how manifested are Western values and norms in the indigenous populations of Guatemala? In Antigua, seeing this historic building being made into a Burger King really got me thinking. At first, it just seemed like a waste, but after noticing the wrought iron crosses above the windowsill, I saw that the building not only symbolizes Western influence, but also the remnants of Spanish influence on indigenous religions. Today, the majority of the population of Guatemala is Catholic. I couldn't help but wonder if there are cases where Mayan religions are also symbolically represented on commercial buildings. Throughout our stay in the indigenous village of Cowitz, we inadvertently, and at times purposefully, introduced or demonstrated Western values. With men from our volunteer group working in the kitchen and women working on the construction site, I asked myself if we were being disrespectful or disrupting their cultural norms. Whether we want to admit it or not, our sheer presence in the isolated mountain community affected the society of Cowitz in one way or another. While we were there to help, we also introduced values and norms that will stay with the community for generations to come. Despite our influence and the influence of other volunteers, certain indigenous practices remain in existence in Cowitz. For example, the people of Cowitz continue to maintain a strong sense of community. They look out for the better good of one another and are by no means individualistic. Both on the worksite and in the kitchen, the community worked together to ensure that the Women's Training Center we helped fund was built quickly and efficiently. I also noted that the gender roles of Guatemalan society could be changing for the better. This is all because of institutions introduced by Western influence. A young woman, still wearing her traditional dress, strays from the gender role set in place for her by Guatemalan society by playing basketball, a sport introduced to Guatemala by the United States. Before this instance, I had only seen men playing team sports and women remaining in the home or kitchen.